Joining me today is Dr. Grace Malindi, the technical advisor to NASFAM and our own ambassador, His Excellency. This is a side event of the CSW 56. Ambassador Bowler, can you just highlight for us what Malawi's role is in some of these side events that are taking part? Because I've seen from the program that Malawi is participating in a number of side events. Just highlight for us, please, some of those events that we're participating in.
Well, thank you very much, Janet, and indeed may I welcome you to our mission here in New York, and looking forward to working closely with you. Indeed, Janet, you've identified that Malawi is participating at a number of these side events and also presenting at a number of these side events. Just yourself the other day, you were invited by UNICEF to make an eloquent presentation, which you did, and I wish to congratulate you. Malawi is being cited for many success stories, and the developments which has been achieved on the ground back in the capital in food security and nutritional security is putting Malawi on the radar for the international community, particularly our donor partners, as they are seeing the relationship between Malawi and them is yielding dividend. And as such, Malawi is being used as a role model to see what can happen and what can be achieved with good sound leadership on the ground. And that's why I'm happy to have NASFAM, because whilst we're partnering government policies, it's important to work very closely with the civil society and NGOs to actually implement some of these wonderful initiatives that the government does. So we look upon this as a partnership in development.
Well, today's program, Ambassador, which I think you are being modest. You did not mention that you are participating in a program that's going to talk about the role of the rural woman in improving nutrition. Dr. Malindi, could you please highlight for us some of the nuggets of information that you're going to provide the delegates today at today's side event that is being co-hosted by Ireland and Malawi?
NASFAM's initiatives, because it is one within the agriculture sector-wide program that is recognized both internationally and nationally for carrying out the efforts, for being an implementer, a very reliable implementer for the government as far as food and nutrition security is concerned.
Now, NASFAM stands for National Smallholder Association of Malawi. Is this a countrywide program? Do you cover the whole Malawi?
Actually, yes, it covers the whole country, right from Karonga and to the farthest south, being Malindi. Yes, there are 12 districts involved, but it's also on its expansion. And in this package, there is a map actually showing where NASFAM is and the potential areas where it is supposed to spread out to.
That's very interesting. And like, let's say in Karonga, some people might be aware that Karonga is very famous for its rice produce, but I'm sure in Sanje they don't produce rice. So does NASFAM differentiate its programming according to the grain for that region or for that district?
Yes, indeed. In its programming, it considers the agro-ecological differences and tries to match with the commodities that should go there. So you're right. For example, in Chikwawa, very soon they'll be intensifying on cotton production, which is already doing very well in Salima as a district. Groundnuts in the central plains of Lilongwe, Kasungu. And you know, groundnuts is the most popular commodity that NASFAM has promoted, both scientifically as well as popularizing it with our communities. You know, on the international scene, most of the African countries have not qualified with their commodities because of quality. And with groundnuts, it's aflatoxin that was an issue. But NASFAM together with the researchers, specifically ICRISAT, they have developed technologies to control and to improve the quality, both agronomically, but also controlling the aflatoxic levels so that our farmers are able to produce and present on the market a product that is well acceptable internationally.
Thank you very much for that expose. Let me throw the discussion back to the Ambassador. Excellency, could you please just highlight for us what the government of Malawi has done in this area of food security, food and nutrition security? Are we committed? What is the temperature of the political commitment on this topic of food and nutrition security?
Well, thank you very much, Janet, for that very important question. Indeed, when the DPP government took over under the presidency of Professor Bingu Mtalika in 2004, the country was exceptionally challenged in trying to feed its population. At that moment, we were going through a huge famine and drought of trying to search food for up to 4 million people as a country. The initiatives which government put in as soon as coming into government was in 2005 the farm subsidy programs, and as you know, that has been the pillar and benchmark of our success, where Malawi is now regarded as a food secure country. And in fact, for the first time in our part of our world, you're now finding organizations like the World Food Programme procuring substantial amount of excess production from Malawi. Last year it was $10 million produced from our own rural farmers. You also know that the 70% of all our agriculture is produced by the rural woman in itself, and part of this great opportunity also remains a great challenge, because it's not only about producing food, it's about producing good food. And when we're focusing on the rural women, we're trying to bring up the nutritional count, and under this government we've increased that nutritional count from around 600 calories per day intake to just under 2,200 calories per intake, with the target figures 2,500. So we are upscaling, and this has also been achieved through the national strategic paper and policies on nutrition, which is housed in the office of the President and Cabinet. And that's the importance. But you also need to be taken back, Janet, that in around 2005 His Excellency the President was Minister of Agriculture, and it was because of the seriousness that government put in at that moment that has brought about the tangible dividends that we are now enjoying as a country. We do have a long way to go. The nutrition strategic policy is valued over 350 million, and the challenge remains in raising this kind of money with such competing components of our society. That becomes a challenge, but the most focal and most important sector in making Malawi food secure has to be given credit to the women, and not just any woman, but the rural woman is the one that's keeping Malawi food secure, and in a big way she's also keeping the region food secure because of the excess production she's producing. So good news on the horizon. There are good policies in place. The challenge now is to sustain those policies, meet the women head on with adequate resources, making sure that government's policies translate to the woman on the ground. And this is why I'm very pleased to be sitting here with NASFAM, which is the National Smallholder Farmers Association of Malawi, and they conduct a very important role on the ground of communicating, training, and bringing about knowledge of how to farm in a more sustainable way. With land management, irrigation, rain harvesting, fish farming. They've got a diversity, and she eloquently mentioned the research which they've done in the groundnuts. As you know, groundnuts is a huge source of nutrition for the women in the village, and it's also a crop that can easily be grown at a very rural level.
Well, we talked of 70% of the rural community being made up of women. Is this percentage helping to feed the rural communities?
Yes, indeed, and as also supported by FAO, Food Agriculture Organization, it has consistently been proven that it is the woman who is producing for the nation. She contributes 80% of the total food that is ever produced, even at the continental level, the same with the Malawi. So it is a very, very crucial role that should not be understated, and that's why all these development partners, as well as the country itself in its leadership, is focusing on the rural woman.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Malindi. Thank you very much, Ambassador Bola.